story that's been bouncing around the echo chamber that caught my attention, popped up on my radar that I wanted to talk with you about, comes out of Sin City, Lost Wages, Nevada. Now, the Raiders are scheduled to close out a disappointing regular season this weekend against Kansas City, as the Chiefs traveling roadshow pays a visit to the desert there in Nevada. Now, one of the subplots going into this game and the rest of the offseason when that begins is about Davante Adams. Now, if you've not heard, and maybe this did not pop up on your sonar, so there have been some whispers that have indicated that Davante Adams, depending on what the Raiders do early in the offseason, may end up asking for a trip out of Dodge, a train ticket, one-way train ticket out of Vegas this offseason, considering the imminent departure of Derek Carr, his BFF, from Fresno State. Adams, when Carr came over to the Raiders, was over the top. When these two got together, I should say, when Adams came to the Raiders with Carr, oh, my God, it was great. They were hooting and hollering, having a fine time. So Davante Adams was asked about the possibility about, his commitment to the Raiders and whether or not he wants to stay with the Raiders. So let's go to the audio tape. Here's Davante Adams on whether or not he wants to stick around.
I came here, I wouldn't have been here or ended up here originally probably, if Derek wasn't here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I won't be here, in the event that he's not here. That's my boy. Obviously, I got his back through anything. I think I've made that more than clear at this point, and I support him and support everything that he has, moving forward as well. But, my dream was to play for this team before he was a Raider, obviously, and at this point I want to, obviously try to make this thing work and continue on doing what I'm doing here and, myself get better and obviously see the team grow and get better as well.
All right, so that's the quote from Davante Adams. Let us discuss. We'll parse the words. We love to parse words here behind these microphones. So the question, do these comments guarantee that Davante Adams is going to stay in Vegas with the Raiders in 2023? So I am shaking my head no. I'm shaking my head no. I've got salad, optometrist, and if that was not enough, belly. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a one-armed bandit, the old slot machine. So, Davante Adams, I will give him credit. He was eloquent as he spoke to the ink-stained wretches of Nevada there, the assembled media. Now, when I first listened to these comments, I was like, this is perfect. He's going to stick around. That sounded genuine. But it was only after further investigation and the trained ear of a gas bag that I realized, wait a minute here. I'm getting served something I don't like, a big salad, a big word salad. I don't like salad. I certainly don't like word salad. So if you use your microscope and put this soundbite under the microscope, among the things that Adam says is it doesn't necessarily mean that I won't be here. The fact that Carr's leaving doesn't necessarily mean that I won't be here in the event that he's not here. Now, that's not exactly hey, I'm going to be here. It's like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that I won't be here. To me, that sounds like he's leaving the door open to play for another team. He also said that his dream growing up in the Bay Area was to play for the Raiders. And as you heard in that soundbite, he said, at this point, I want to obviously try to make this thing work at this point. Now, what did you expect him to say? There's still a week to go in the season. It would be outrageous if Davante Adams came out with a week to go in the season and said, by the way, these guys are a bunch of dogs. I don't want to play with these guys, right? They got fleas. I want to get out of here. I want to play for a real NFL team that actually knows how to bleep and win, right? You can't say that. So you say, well, at this time, at this point, here's what I want. All of that, right? Saying you grew up a Raider fan, that warms the cockles of the Raider fan's heart. But none of it means that Adams has announced he's going to stay and that's it. All cards are on the table. And we have a sneaking suspicion here that this story's like a boomerang. It's going to come back around to us, and we're going to have many more conversations about this in the offseason. Now, turning the page. Now, another part of this, Davante Adams was additionally asked about having a say in deciding who is the next Raiders quarterback. After all, he's the franchise wide receiver. Now, you can't see this because we're going to play some sound here. You can't see it because it's obviously radio. But his eyes lit up. He got a little more pep in his step when he was quizzed about that. So let's go back to the audio tape. Take a listen. Here's Davante Adams asked about whether or not he wants to have his voice heard on the next Raider quarterback.
Absolutely. I mean, me, Josh, Ziggs, we all got a really good dynamic, and it's something that I really appreciate, and I've mentioned it to them as well. You know, obviously they don't have to do anything as far as I'm not a part of the front office, but obviously they know the reason why I came here, and a step like this is obviously something that means a lot to me and in my personal career, and obviously what I'm trying to chase as far as the ultimate pursuit to get that ring.
All right, so there's Davante Adams on that. I noticed that his buzzword that he keeps going back to is obviously. That's a crutch. He keeps going back to the word obviously. All right, so the question on this one, thumbs up or thumbs down, you are the Raiders. Do you allow Davante Adams to handpick or help handpick the next quarterback? So I go thumbs down, right? Thumbs down, and that is a Pandora's box situation. You don't want to open Pandora's box. What's in the box? You don't want to find out. All right, so Davante Adams was measured in his response, and he did point out, as you heard in that soundbite that we played, he's not part of the front office. So he answered his own question. He answered his own question. He said, absolutely, but he answered his own question. This is not the NBA. You're not in the NBA. You're in the NFL. Like LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard or someone like that is the conductor of their orchestra. That is not how they do things in the NFL. That's a pro bouncy ball move. The NFL, for better or worse, is different. I know it's starting to change, but it's still not, we've not crossed the Rubicon on that. And there are more defined boundaries. Stay in your lane, as LeVar Ball used to say back in the day. Davante Adams, I would also tell the Raiders, I think they know this, he needs to visit an optometrist. He needs to get an eye exam because you remember when Adams came over from Green Bay to Vegas, you remember the quote, the mother of all quotes from Davante Adams, when he was asked about going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, he famously said that he was going from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer. Was the quote that Derek Carr, who I think would have to pay full price to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and Aaron Rodgers are one and the same. Now, we sure remember. If you don't remember it, we remember that. Either way, all right, Davante has little to worry about. All right, he's in good hands. It's a moot point here because he's got a full bank account and a full belly. He's got a full belly and a full bank account. Vegas gave Davante Adams almost $70 million, $67.5 million guaranteed. They traded a first and a second-round pick to Green Bay to get him. And Adams, he's got a full belly. Second in the entire NFL with 171 targets, which seems impossible because there were many games where Adams was not getting the ball that often, but overall he's number 2 in the entire NFL. That's a chef's kiss for Davante Adams. Only Justin Jefferson of the Vikings has more. Whoever the Raiders get at quarterback will be providing another assembly line of exceptional targets to Davante Adams, right? That's the awesome sauce that they will be delivering. And we imagine that Vegas' front office already has an outline of who they want to get. These things are usually done way in advance through back channels and intermediaries as they put feelers out. Is it going to be Tom Brady? Will the Raiders be able to trade for Aaron Rodgers or a mystery quarterback? It's just a matter of closing the deal. What about Jarrett Stidham? If Jarrett Stidham goes out and throws 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs this weekend, do you then have to give him a legitimate opportunity to be the starting quarterback? Does he prove himself? Can you prove yourself? Can you get an endorsement and demonstrate the skill set to be a starter in a couple of late season games when your team's pretty much eliminated already? They are eliminated now, the Raiders, but last week they were on life support. All right, last word here. So will the Raiders be getting calls on Davante Adams for a trade? The answer to that is abso-bleeping-lutely. If you're an NFL team horny for a receiver, you got to make that call. Adams is locked up for another 2 seasons before there are any potential outs in the contract. So we know the word on the street is that Mark Davis is penny wise and pound foolish. And so an exploratory phone call or a text doesn't hurt anybody. It's like that old Wayne Gretzky quote that was used in The Office. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So you do your due diligence. No shame in your game by asking. Now, looking in to Benny's crystal ball, who's most likely to be kicking the tires on Davante Adams in a trade, in this hypothetical trade? So Adams is a big-ticket item. The teams that pop up immediately in the crystal ball are the Cowboys, because Jerry Jones, legendary star effort. The Giants, who are still searching for that big-time centerpiece wide receiver, and the Chicago Bears, who seemingly are a million miles away from being anywhere good. But those are all NFC teams that could use an upgrade. Now, if the Raiders are willing to make a deal with an AFC team and send Davante Adams to an AFC team, then you look at the Packers. Not the Packers, the Patriots, rather. The Patriots, because you've got Josh McDaniels, who has a connection. The GM of the Raiders is an old Patriot guy. And then you look around, you got Jacksonville, who suddenly is trending upwards, and they have a chance to get in the playoffs this weekend. That would be a sweet landing spot in terms of football. And Trevor Lawrence has leapfrogged a number of other young quarterbacks and become one of the top darlings of the NFL quarterback position. And I imagine how he would dominate, I would think, with Trevor Lawrence after surviving a year with Derek Carr. And Jacksonville has Christian Kirk and Marvin Jones as their top 2 receivers. So Davante Adams would absolutely tip the scales in that situation.